Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back. So, as you can probably tell by the title of this video, there is a full-blown crisis going on right now in the cryptoverse. So I actually had another video planned for today, but I had to scrap that one for obvious reasons. In case you don't know what I'm talking about and you've been living under a rock lately, the price of Bitcoin has, let's just say, fallen, right? Or should I say crashed? Let me just give it to you how it is, right? Let's not use euphemisms here. It's crashed. In this video, I'm going to be giving you an explanation of what happened and what's my plan going forward. Yeah, by the way, none of this is financial advice. I'm just sharing my opinion and I'm just sharing my 2 cents. So without further ado, let's jump in. So first of all, the elephant in the room, Celsius. So full disclosure, before I begin, I did have some crypto on Celsius myself, or I still do, but I don't know if I'll ever see it again. So I had about 10 Solana, and 1,000 ADA. And smaller amounts of crypto here and there, like a little bit of Matic and DOT. So yeah, I don't know if I'll ever see any of those ever again, but from the beginning though. So Celsius Network, in case you don't know what it is, it's a platform that helps users earn interest on their crypto by lending out the crypto. So they let you borrow stable coins against your crypto as well if you need to take out a loan. So it kind of works like a bank, but for crypto, right? But the downside is that unlike a bank, Celsius is not insured for those deposits. And recently there were several events that were called into question that called into question Celsius's liquidity. So mainly they were having trouble fulfilling customer withdrawal requests and had to shut down all withdrawals basically. So they sent out an email and be like, hey, we've stopped all swaps, sending crypto to other people, and withdrawals, most importantly. So obviously that's not good, okay? So what led to this situation though was mainly due to the declining price in crypto just in general. And also one specific event called the ST-ETH, or some people call it STETH, but I say ST-ETH, getting depegged. Long story short, Ethereum is going through this upgrade called the merge, and you can't withdraw the ETH until the merge upgrade is done. So to combat the problem, there's this asset called ST-ETH, which is supposed to be pegged 1-to-1 with ETH. And is tied to a real ETH, like each ST-ETH is tied to a real ETH that is being staked on what's called the beacon chain, which is what the merge is gonna like turn into, right? So the beacon chain is gonna merge with the main chain, and then it's gonna be from proof of work to proof of stake from there on. But yeah, you don't have to understand all of that. Essentially, the issue is that people began panic selling ST-ETH to get their cash because everything is crashing and people are fearful, right? So this caused massive selling pressure on ST-ETH, which depegged from actual ETH. How this relates to Celsius? Well, it's because Celsius had a big exposure to ST-ETH, so obviously the depegging affected them a lot. Yeah, as I said, thankfully I didn't have a lot of coins on Celsius. I self-custody all my Bitcoin and Ethereum. I just had some altcoins that were on there because they were giving slightly higher yields on a lot of these altcoins compared to like Bitcoin and ETH. But yeah, obviously that was a little bit of a mistake to leave even a little bit of coins on there, because I should have learned my lesson after what happened with Luna, because I had a little bit of Luna as well, and yeah, I see a lot of people though lose a lot more money than me with both the Luna situation and the Celsius situation, and my heart goes out to them because at this point it's, as I said, it's really not looking good, right? So I saw this tweet by Dylan Leclerc, who is a Bitcoin on-chain analyst from Bitcoin Magazine, and he was one of the first ones to discover that Celsius was in trouble. So apparently Celsius had some collateralized loans that they will get margin called if Bitcoin were to go down to 16.8K USD, and this was after they kind of added more collateral to it, so they like actually brought down the price at which they would get margin called. But even then, that is still a very dangerous thing because in the crypto world where everything is open and transparent and everyone can see, this is a really big problem because it's really tempting for whales to kind of want to push down the price to that level so that they can just liquidate you, right? So if you're a big company like Celsius, all the whales are just, like circling around. I guess we can call them sharks at this point, right? They're more like sharks rather than whales. They smell blood and they're like circling around and they're like, okay, we can, work together and push down the price of Bitcoin to 16.8K, then we can kill Celsius and then get all their assets for cheap, right? So that's it's like painting a target on your back, honestly. And usually when stuff like this happens, usually when there's like a set price that that Bitcoin has to get to for someone to get liquidated, usually that number hits because the whales have their ways. So for the sake of myself, I guess, and everyone else, obviously, who's been affected, I really do hope that Celsius makes it through. But if Bitcoin really does hit 16.8K, it's very likely that it will be the end of the road for Celsius. Heck, even if it doesn't hit that level, it's not looking good for Celsius, right? They could still die, but like they will almost certainly die if that level is hit. So again, I'm not trying to spread FUD. I'm just giving to straight, right? Because remember, as I said, I have exposure to Celsius, so I really hope that they do make it. I have an incentive for them to make it, but hope is not a strategy, right? I gotta be realistic. I just want to spend a moment to talk about what we can learn from this whole crisis, or what I learned from this whole crisis, right? So all in all, I would actually say that I'm still pretty new to crypto since I only got into it in late 2020. So this is my first rodeo, so apologies for my mistakes if you're a crypto veteran and you've been here since like 2012 or something like that, right? So my first mistake is that I took on too much risk in the altcoins. So come to think of it, I was in a ton of different coins, and I thought that they were good projects, for my sake, but I think I did spread myself a little too thin. So in bull markets, everyone looks like a genius, right? So when X coin outperforms Bitcoin, people are thinking, oh, why should I buy Bitcoin when, X coin does a lot better, right? But as you can see now, you know why, right? Because as much as Bitcoin has dropped, altcoins have dropped more. And if you're holding on to an altcoin that like not too many people know about, then it's very likely in a situation like this where there's massive market capitulation, it's very likely for that coin to go to zero. Right? So I do have the majority of my position in Bitcoin and Ethereum, but I feel like I should have focused even more on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and especially Bitcoin, because it's just the risk and reward is it's like sometimes a lot better with Bitcoin, right? Because I don't think that Bitcoin is going to go to zero. I honestly do think that Bitcoin will survive, but we'll talk about that in more detail later. So that's that. The second thing I learned was the importance of self-custody. I really thought that Celsius was safe because they were a huge company that was backed by VCs, and they had a ton of cash, the old saying goes, not your keys, not your coins, right? And I really did have to learn that the hard way, unfortunately. Granted, as I said, I did self-custody all my Bitcoin and Ethereum, and those are the vast, vast majority, like 85% of my entire crypto holdings are between Bitcoin and ETH. I still could have self-custodied the altcoins too, though, right? Because I totally have the capabilities, I have the knowledge and I have like my wallet set up and everything, right? So I totally have the capability to do so, but I just got a little bit greedy. I wanted to earn yield, and I didn't want to have to go through on finding out how to stake every single coin and how to earn yield on every single one. I thought it was just a lot easier for me to have a centralized place to put the coins, right? But again, not your keys, not your coins. So I learned that the hard way. As to whether or not I'm beat up about potentially losing everything I had on Celsius, I like to think about it this way, right? So, say if you lost $3,000 on Celsius. But because of the price of everything crashing, you managed to save $3,000 on your purchases of Bitcoin or whatever other purchases you would have made. Meaning that if the price didn't crash, you would have had to spend $3,000 more to, let's say, get the same amount of Bitcoin. Or whatever it was that you were going to buy, right? So this is kind of the situation that we're in right now. So if you just kind of frame it that way, it doesn't seem like it's nearly as bad, right? So yeah, don't think about it too much, and that's at least how I approach it. And to answer the question, I'm not too beat up about it, even though it is like, a couple $1,000s worth of crypto that I had on Celsius. But you know what? Like, it is what it is, right? And in these market conditions, I lose like $2,000 worth of unrealized gains per day, and I've been doing that for the past every week, basically for the past 6 months. So. It is what it is, but I know you can make an argument that, unrealized losses aren't the same as like actually losing money, but whatever, right? Like, I won't get into the semantics of that right now. So moving forward, what is my plan? If we take a look at the logarithmic regression chart for Bitcoin, also called the rainbow chart, because it looks like a rainbow, you can see that we're basically in the lowest band. That's called basically a fire sale right now. So if you're going to buy Bitcoin, now is kind of the best time. Although probably you're like me, who's out of cash by now. I may do something that I've always advocated against. So please don't copy me, right? So do as I say and not as I do. Usually it's a bad idea to borrow money to invest, but I think I will be taking some money out of my line of credit to buy some Bitcoin. Again, this is not financial advice, and I am by no means advocating for you to do this, right? So don't try this at home, okay? Please. But the reason why I'm doing it, I will tell you the reason. Number one is that it just so happens that my interest rate on my line of credit is at 4.7% right now, which is, given a rising interest rate environment and given everything, it's fairly low, I think, right? It's manageable, and I can afford the minimum payments if things go sideways, right? So it's not gonna, the interest load is not gonna bankrupt me. So that's number one. Number two is that it's not collateralized against the investment itself, right? So this is different than margin. So I won't get margin called if Bitcoin goes down, and that's like the biggest feature. This is way different than borrowing against your Bitcoin to buy more Bitcoin, which is way riskier. I believe that MicroStrategy actually did this recently, and they had a margin call at 21K, and I think Bitcoin did go below 21K. So I bet they did get margin called, and they have to put up more collateral. So it's not going to be a fun time for MicroStrategy shareholders in the short term. Surprise, surprise, I'm also a MicroStrategy shareholder. So it's not going to be a fun time. But this is kind of the risk that you have to put up with when you go into margin, right? And especially if you use, the collateral itself as a volatile collateral like Bitcoin, and then buy more Bitcoin. It's going to be, when Bitcoin drops, it's not going to be a good time. Borrowing against Bitcoin to buy more Bitcoin is probably something that I will never do, and something that I have never done. I also hope that this answers the question of whether I still believe in Bitcoin or not. So, it's hard to say if any random crypto will survive, but as I said earlier, I can say that even right now, I have a very, very high degree of confidence, even right now, that I genuinely believe that Bitcoin will survive. Again, this is just due to simple mathematics, right? Because Bitcoin is limited in supply. So what's so powerful about Bitcoin is that it's limited, right? So every piece of Bitcoin that you buy is a fixed piece of a pie that can never increase in size. So assuming that adoption will speed up and there's more and more institutional interest and there's more retail interest and there's just more interest in general from everyone, right? More money is going to eventually pour into this space. Now it's volatile, obviously, right? So it has its up and downs. But I think that in the future it will trend up over time. And again, this is my opinion, not financial advice, right? And actually, before I go, let me show you something, right? So these are genuine Venezuelan bolivars that I got off of eBay. And I have it framed just as an example of fiat currency debasement, right? So which one would you rather have? This or Bitcoin, right? So, not telling you to buy Bitcoin or anything. You can do whatever you want. It's your own money, but you guys know my plan, right? So anyways, with that being said, I'll end the video here. Be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed the video and consider subscribing if you like the series. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Links down below in the description as always. And HODL strong. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.